guys, my name is Marvin Ambrosius here, and we've got another great podcast for you, 5 Minutes with Marv with Amy Golby. Now, this is a Champions Edition podcast, so we're not just going to be talking for 5 minutes. It's going to be slightly longer because we got a lot of things to cover because I am a sucker for a transformation. Amy, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you very much. And thank you so much for just coming onto this podcast show because you don't know me from anywhere. I just contacted you and did a DM and was like, do you know what? I need to speak to this person because I need to know how they're feeling, how they went from losing weight in lockdown to not just going from losing weight, but to go into full-blown competition. Because I know what it's like to transform someone's body, but you went to the next level. So tell me a little bit about just the process mentally between being overweight and saying, I'm going to lose weight. Let's go through that first. So like, how did that even happen?
Do you know what? It's a hard one with me because I look at that picture from like 14, 15 months ago. And so like I have lost half my body weight. Like I'm half the person I was, literally. But even at that weight, I still played a high level of rugby. I was training for a marathon. I'd run a marathon at that close to that weight. And I was still training consistently. Like I was strong. I was pulling deadlifts, squatting. Like I was training hard. Like I wasn't, and this is the biggest thing is that people say, like even my friends and family, you look at that picture now and it does blow your mind. But when we were there in real life, no one saw me like that because I wasn't sitting on the sofa eating. I was training and I was working out. I was playing sport. So I just felt uncomfortable. And I think it was 2 weeks into lockdown and I'd got through like 3 bottles of gin. And do you know what I mean? Like everyone went there, like everyone was drinking, like I was eating. I thought this is going to go one or two ways for me. Like this is I've either got to stop and start moving my body again, or it's going to go like I'm going to wake up even like bigger than I was basically. And I'm going to stop moving and stop doing what I love, which was training. So I just thought I absolutely hate home workouts. Like I like lifting heavy weights. I like working with barbells. I don't like doing burpees and jumping around body weight and stuff like that. But I was like, come on, embrace it. Like, even if it's 20 minutes a day, like just get up, get moving, get your steps in. And that's where it started, really. I just felt uncomfortable. I kind of needed to take accountability for myself and be like, you're not taking care of your body. You're not fueling it properly. You're allowing the situation around you to determine and kind of not ruin, but like lead you down a path that you're not going to be happy with. So like it's on me to get moving and stuff. And that's what I did. I just set aside time every day to make sure I got up and out for a walk. And did my at least 20 minutes to 30 minutes of exercise. And I put in 3 Zoom workouts with my friends each week. And that's just how it started. I just changed my training and my body just reacted to that, like that change in training basically. And then I was like, okay, I've got the training down. I consistently was doing it for about 4 or 5 weeks. So I was like, now we rein my diet in basically, like how do we feel better and change the diet. So then once I'd learned good habits and getting moving, getting out every day, getting the exercise in, I then started to add in small changes and just started sitting in a smaller deficit, and then amended that each week.
So it really started with the consistency and accountability group that you created then. So I guess, and changing your training, because you said you're a weights person like me. I'm the body weight king. Like I lost all of my weight not touching a weight at all. So I lost 6 stone and it was all body weight. But with mine, I was doing a lot of calisthenics. So I did loads of push-ups. So my strength when I went to weights, it transferred to being able to lift weights, which was good. But everybody's body composition is different and their body reacts differently. When I do weights, my appetite, I'm not even kidding you, triples. I'm
Yeah.
so hungry when I do weights. I don't like the feeling. I just feel like I want to eat people and eat everyone. And when I do cardio, I'm really thirsty and I just want to
Yeah.
drink more. And I tend to eat more healthy when I do cardio. It's such a strange way my brain works. But
Mm.
with yourself, with that switch of you were already in the flow of working out, you already known as someone that was active and working. So what in your training changed to where the weight started to drop, or did that drop coincided with the diet change?
I think the diet change led it. Like, it was just cleaning up and making better choices in my life, basically. Like, I didn't cut anything out, and this is the biggest thing. Like, people always ask me, they see that transformation, and the biggest question I get asked is, what did you take? What were you eating? And I'm just like, so if we break it down, because obviously prep is something completely different when you're prepping for a bodybuilding competition.
We'll get into that. We'll get into that after.
We'll get there. But that first kind of 8 months, I didn't cut any food groups. I've never cut a food group. I wasn't doing a diet. What I did was, this is a lifestyle change. This is educating myself on nutritional timing around my training, so that when I'm fueling myself, it's going straight into the training, especially if I'm doing a high intensity HIIT training or something like that. My body's ready for it. I also made good choices 90% of the time. And that means, unprocessed foods, good sources of protein, not, I would prep my food and cook for the week. So I knew exactly what I was weighing. I did weigh food out, like quantity size. I retaught myself what a portion of rice should
look like, rather than half the plate.
Yeah, exactly. And then and stocked up on more fruit and veg, but also educate myself around, fruit is good for you, but it's also very high in fructose. So we need to be aware of those things. And it was educating myself around that. But also the biggest thing I learned as well with this was that to not be afraid of calories. That was the biggest thing, because my instant reaction at first was like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna like drop down to, I don't know, this many calories.
Yeah.
When actually I sat down and I worked out what I needed to fuel my training, but also sit in a deficit. And actually it was 500 calories more than I think my brain wanted me to eat.
Yeah.
And that makes a difference, because I've learned a lot in prep about the need for calories.
Yeah.
Especially now. And I think we instantly go from 0 to 100 when we try and implement this. And people will go to like, oh, I'm only eating 1,000 calories. And no one eats 1,000 calories. That's mental. Like, how can you expect?
I don't even know how you survive on that, especially training. If you're training and on top of that as well. People work out without having breakfast, but I'm one of those people, because of how I eat and how I eat in the evenings. I have complex carbs in the evening, so I only eat vegetables in the evenings with protein. So in the morning, if I'm going to do a workout after that, I have to have some carbs.
Yeah, 100%. And I think we're scared of stuff. And that was another thing. It was like learning the difference between carbs and stuff. And I knew so I'm qualified personal trainer and stuff. Like, it was there. It was just reminding myself.
Yeah.
And it was about setting lifestyle changes rather than doing a diet.
Yeah.
It was like, I'm gonna put in place good new structures slowly, week by week, until they become habits for life, basically. Like, and yeah, I didn't every Friday night I would have, and that's the other thing as well. So every Friday night I would have a date night with my partner where I wouldn't really track what I was having.
Have fun, human being life.
Exactly.
Be a human being. Yeah.
Exactly. But at the same time, I think it wasn't, because I wasn't restricting myself in the week in a way that, I still had like 3 chunks of chocolate every night, and like I still had yogurt with a bit of granola and things like that, because I wasn't restricting myself 5 days of the week. When that day came, I didn't smash a whole pizza, or I didn't overeat in one meal, because I was like, well, I'm going to have some chocolate tomorrow anyway, so I don't need to eat this whole bar. I'll just have a little bit, or I'll just have a normal portion of this, or a small kebab or whatever I want, because I don't need to, because I haven't been restricting myself completely of all the foods that I like. Exactly. And I think that's the big difference is people cut everything out and go cold turkey, and then they have a for want of a better word, a cheat meal and eat.
Cheat day becomes a cheat weekend. A cheat weekend becomes a cheat week.
Yeah, exactly.
How it
Or
goes.
you end up eating, if you're in a really nice 250, 500 calorie deficit for 5 days, and then you eat a meal that's 4,000 calories.
And it can be done very easily.
It's so easy.
Very easily.
Undone those calories.
Yeah. A lot of people don't understand that though. And some people's bodies don't respond. My body, I have a body that responds in that way. If I eat 5 days, 100% clean and said, okay, this weekend, it doesn't matter how many times I've trained, I'm going to smash the food. I will not have lost a pound. I will literally, I will either put on weight or stay the same. But I explain to people, it depends on your body and how it works. But at the same time, when you train for years consistently and you do that, even then that method still doesn't work. And with age, I'm in my 40s now. So I don't have the luxury. I used to be able to do that when I was younger, but now that luxury is gone. I'm like, nope, I'm going to eat good this weekend because I'm not going to undo the work I did last week.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think, it's about realizing you don't have to cut all that stuff out. You just have to learn moderation.
Yeah.
And portion size. Yeah.
So with one thing about your weight, what I want to know is, so what was the heaviest weight that you were and how many years were you at that weight?
Oh God, I never share this.
Oh, that's a good question then.
Mainly
I'll share mine. Don't worry. Like I had a massive.
I don't care. So this is that. So before I share this, so I don't share it because I don't think it matters.
Yeah. Okay. No, I understand that. The only reason
I never share it.
I'm breaking it in usually into context to letting people know and understand that Rome wasn't built in a day.
Yeah.
So that's the reason.
At my absolute heaviest I've ever been, I was 17 stone probably.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And that is probably the heaviest I've ever been in my life. And that was probably last year.
But that was still with muscle because you were doing a lot of complex and bigger working out muscle. So when people hear weight, they don't understand. I know there was a lot of muscle because from what you were doing compound a lot before. It seems.
Yeah. I was just shot probably, I don't know, like 140 kg but deadlift.
That was your deadlift. Yeah. See, with that weight, then to me, that weight, if somebody is sedentary, is a completely different size compared to what you was not playing rugby, you were going to gym, you love being active, so that's completely different. Now, what did you get down to in your lowest when you did the prep?
I stepped on stage, so I think 17 stone is about what, 108 kilograms?
108 kg.
108. So 40 months ago I was 108. I stepped on stage at 67.9.
Wow. Do you get that? I get this all the time, right? Because that basically, I'll give you my timeline. So I literally yo-yo dieted for years because I went from being a professional athlete as a child into a teenager. Then I went into a completely different profession because I basically had so many injuries. I had to stop at 19.
Yeah.
And I started doing music. So I was a singer-songwriter for over like 15 years. But in between that time, I was working other jobs. But I'd put on about 5 stone in 3 years from 19. And then I put on an extra stone and I got to 19 stone. And then I lost all my weight the year before, about 6 months before my son was born. And that was only because I didn't want to be an overweight dad. But I lost my weight in the wrong way. I did an abstinence diet with just juicing. So you can pretty much know how that went. So what ended up happening then was he was born. Great. Yeah, I'm a slim dad. I feel great. 4 or 5 months down the line, you know where I was. I was the same weight I was where I started. I was back to like 18 and a half, 19 stone. So over those years, because my son, just to put it into context now, my son's 17. Now this is how it worked now. Over those years and at that time, I kept on putting on weight, losing weight, started going gym, still putting on weight, losing weight, then started doing heavy weights. My body for some reason just goes like this. I just get massive. I'm not even lifting that heavy. Like I never lifted that heavy, but my body responds to weight very quickly. So I just couldn't get the balance right. My lifestyle, my working 12-hour days in an office, and then going to studio at night, eating at like 4 a.m. It just wasn't working for me. And then one day it clicked, and it didn't click until I was 35.
Yeah.
Like, look at those years, like that timeline. We're talking 20 19, 20 to 35. So that's why I always wanted to know your timeline. So it took a long time for me to understand it, considering that it was a lifestyle change, like you said, and you mentioned that earlier. It wasn't about, and what I used to do is do what you said, the radical, I'm not going to eat pizza anymore. I'm not going to eat burgers. I'm not going to eat lasagna. I'm not going to have macaroni cheese. I'm not going to have fried chicken. All the food that I love, I just said goodbye to it. But the problem was, what ended up happening was I was craving that the whole journey each time, and not understanding that it's okay to have it in moderation and have it when it's ready. So when I discovered that, I discovered my purpose, which was actually losing the weight. But then I found out I was great motivating in classes, because people started following me for some reason. I was like, why are these people coming to my class? They're not even real classes. I'm just working out. But I became a fitness professional. And when doing that, I developed my own app, and then developed my own brand, Fit in 5, and then got a TV show. And it just all kind of moved really quickly. But then I realized that the thought process behind everything I'd done was the failed attempts that I had before was what I wanted to help people with, not the actual how I got there. It was so they didn't have to do the process that I went through.
Yeah.
100%. I wanted to get people out of that process.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's where you are.
100%. Yeah. So I played, I've always been a sports girl. Every sport under the sun, I played it as a kid, like you name it. My mum had to put a rule in place that she would not buy the kit until I'd done it for more than like 6 months. But I committed fully to netball, and I went on and did national level netball. And I was super fit. Like I look back at my 16, 17-year-old self, and you know, I was so fit.
Yeah,
so fit.
I know exactly what you mean.
In my head, I was so fat. Like I didn't look like the other girls. Like, and so I didn't eat. I didn't fuel myself. I hardly ate. Like I literally ran my body into the ground. So what happened was, when I hit 18, and started going out, even then I wasn't big, but in my head I was
in your head you were massive. Yeah.
And then you add drink, and you add going to uni, and you add all that stuff on, and I was still, I went to uni on a sports scholarship, like for netball. Like I was still playing national level netball, but I would go on literally the same thing. Like I would think I looked a certain way, and so I would like eat nothing all week, not feel any of my training, then go out with all my uni girls and eat loads of stuff, like, and then binge. Basically, it was like a yo-yo binging cycle of diets. I even tried that diet that they give to people who need to lose weight.
Which one?
It's like they need to lose weight. Normally, they give it to them if they need like operations. I got this.
Oh, I think I know.
Found it on the internet. Yeah, and I ate this horrible soup. Oh my god, the smell of it, like.
It just.
I literally ate soup for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
I know your pain. Trust me, I've done I know your pain.
It was horrible, and I was like, no, but this was just before I graduated, so I was like, what, 21, 22, I think. I got my job in London, and I was like, oh, I need to be skinny to go to this new job. And I mean, I wasn't even big. Like I was probably like a size 12, but I needed to be a size 8, and I think, or a size 6, because in my head I grew up in the era where size 0 was the thing.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah,
I wasn't like that. I was and I'm similar as well. Like I pick up a weight and I grow a muscle. Like I've always been like, I'm an endomorph. I gain fat, but I gain muscle really quickly.
Same. We're the same.
Yeah. So I spent hours on treadmills trying to like not gain any muscle and try and get as thin as I could. I would literally go through these cycles of doing diets, like you said, like you name it, I've tried it. And that's why I just don't want people to ever go through that. And even when I started lifting properly, so I met, big shout out to my first ever real PT in 2015. I met her, Joelle, and she put a set of dumbbells in my hand and a kettlebell and was like, trust me, I can help you. I can show you like how to change your body, the way
and the shape, and the shape of it.
What you think. And she taught me how to lift weights and and I did lose quite a bit. Like I was quite I lost a lot of fat, so I was a lot leaner.
Yeah.
But I did it for the wrong reasons, and this is the other thing.
Yeah, the mental. I said the actual the journey of that wasn't the right journey.
So I see what you mean. Yeah, so I was probably like 24, 25 at this point. I did it for aesthetics, the whole thing, because I wanted to look a certain way. And all it did was, I don't know if I could swear on your podcast.
You can swear on my podcast, it's fine.
It made me an asshole.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, look how good I look. You don't like, you guys don't look how I look. And I was just an asshole for it.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, I was like chasing. I knew how to train. I knew what to do. But at the same time, the nutrition side and that lifestyle side of how to implement it for longevity, like I hadn't really learned, because I wanted to get an aesthetic.
Quick fix, fast food workouts. Yeah.
I'd rushed through it. And I was overtraining like 3 times a day in order to sustain what I was eating. Yeah, literally. Like I was fully overtraining in order to sustain, and that you can't, on a long scale, you can't do that to your body. Like it just can't handle it. Like I never took rest days. Rest days scared the hell out of me. Like
the older image of yourself popped in your head every time a rest day came, not realizing that you'll actually look better if you rest.
Yeah, like so I wouldn't ever rest. Like I would get up at 4 a.m. to go before work. I'd train at lunch and I'd train after work.
Wow. Do you know what? Like, just saying that out loud, I know exactly where you were and where you're coming from. And the aesthetic part of it, first of all, I think everybody, first of all, wants to look great. But my ethos and everything changed. I was like, do you know what? You want to feel great.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you want. Because I remember when I was at my biggest, there was at a point with me and my wife where I can 100% say to you, I'd never felt greater in my life. And I was probably like double the size I am now, but I felt amazing. But that's because of where I was in my headspace. But then I allowed other people to make me feel bad about my weight.
Yeah.
And then everything changed, and my whole thought process behind losing weight, needing to get there quickly, trying to look like the old version of myself, it ruined me. It actually ruined everything I loved about myself, was gone. And I was just like, all right, what are my reasonings for losing weight? Maybe I should just put it down to health. Let's put it down for longevity and actually living longer, because we're not going to live forever. And I think at the time I didn't actually contemplate that I was actually damaging myself or being on my way to type 2 diabetes, because I was. I've got a bad sweet tooth, so I knew I was definitely on my way there. But with the one thing that you mentioned as well, which is so pivotal, like when you were losing weight and you were at that process where you understood that you can do different types of training during this lockdown, where you were doing body weight and things like that, did you ever get the moment where you looked in the mirror and when you wake up in the morning, you're expecting to see the older version of yourself? Do you get that still?
Yeah, I do get that still. Yeah.
So do you think that keeps you humble? Do you think that actually this journey where you are now, because I feel like it 100% makes me check myself in any moment. Do you think it makes you stay grounded?
Yeah, I think so. Like I'll go on a run now, and every time I step out that door, I'm like, this is going to be the worst run ever. And it's just this process of like, but I've just got to get it done. When I start running, I remember that I've been running and training for this for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks.
Yeah.
It's not going to be the worst run ever. Like it's not. But I always remember those runs where I could hardly put one foot in front of the other.
Yeah.
And every time I start and I'm like, oh, this is all right, actually. And I took a lot of, I'm such a perfectionist, like, and I'm very, very competitive. And that comes from years and years of being a sportswoman. Like, you just, it's ingrained in me.
Trust me. I like being an England international. I was just talking to friends the other day. I said, I try not to be competitive. Even in board games, I was ridiculous for years. My wife said to me, you can't not be competitive. And then it's only the past 5 years I've gone, do you know what? Don't mind losing anymore. But that's just come with age. But even then, there's a part of my brain that goes, I need to win.
Yeah. So it's kind of like letting go of that a little bit, letting go of it, and being like, not everything's gonna feel great, but look how far you've come. And after 5 minutes, I'm more comfortable than I've ever been. I'm like, oh, you can do this, like keep going, that type of thing. So I do think it keeps you humble in that side of it. I think like I'm always like, especially on my Instagram and everything with everyone, like I always like to be open and honest and really raw with how I'm feeling. And I think especially post-comp, there is a massive fear, because at the moment, when you come out the other side of prepping for a comp, you have to get really comfortable with weight gain.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's real hard, because every day I wake up and think, I'm going to look how I looked a year ago. And when you've seen yourself a certain way for so long and like so lean, to not see that, it's a scary feeling. Like it's really scary. And you have to really, like, it is weird to see myself gain weight. And I know it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And especially now, like I'm 2-3 weeks post-comp, like your body's so sensitive. Like I can eat a bagel and I'll retain water like that. Like, do you know what I mean? That's how sensitive my body is right now. And adjusting to that, it is a really scary thing. And I have to keep reminding myself that I've taught myself the skills to find balance again and live a lifestyle over those 8 months I did before prep. So I think it does keep me humble. And also I think I never, ever, ever want anyone to ever feel how I felt about myself and think the things I thought about myself. I don't want anyone to ever go through that. And if me sharing and being open helps at least one person, I've done the right thing. And I think that keeps me so grounded, because I always remind myself where I am right now is someone else's goal that they're striving towards. So like, be proud of what you've done and be proud of where you've come from. But remember, like, there's still other people working their ass off to get exactly where you are. So don't be ungrateful.
You know, you just said it in the best way. And I say this to every single person I've ever worked with. I always say, no matter what weight you are right now, you're someone's end game. I've always said that. Even when I was at my heaviest weight, I knew people that were bigger than me, and they said, oh man, if I could only be at your size. And you're thinking, are you having a laugh? But the truth of the matter is, everyone is someone's end game.
Yeah,
100%. And I think I think you were saying earlier, which is so great, is like those voices in your head and the things that you're telling yourself and the conversations you're having yourself about your own body and how you look. You're thinking, this can't be healthy. Like, do I need to be sitting here wasting time on having a conversation about I'm breathing? I should be doing something. I should be living. And next thing you know, you're just not doing anything. You don't want to be seen by anybody. You don't want to go out because you feel like you look overweight. And it's like, there's all these things happening. And then like, no one else knows it's happening other than you.
Oh yeah, 100%. And it's the same thing with like this is why I don't share my weights and I don't really share my clothing style. I don't really share that stuff. People ask all the time.
I wouldn't ask your clothing style. It was just the past tense, but like I get what you mean.
They ask me all the time. They always ask me how many calories I'm eating.
It would be different based on your age, height, and weight anyway.
Literally.
So
the amount of times I'm asked, "Oh, can you do a what I eat in a day reel?" And I'm like, "No, I can't."
And it's not going to be the same. It's going to be different. So whatever you eat, it's not going to. Me and you couldn't eat the same food.
Exactly.
It's different.
It's this obsession with what you think other people look at you and see. No one walks out, like I don't. Okay, and if you do this is great. But I never walk down the road and look at someone and think, oh, they're definitely 70 kilos. They definitely wear a size 10. Like no one does that.
No, never.
But we are obsessed with a scale weight or a clothing size for ourselves, and we put those kind of pressures on ourselves. And it's the same thing like with running, for example. I used to obsess over like, oh, this many Ks per minute, and I need to be hitting this mile per minute. And then I would go for a run and I'd be so overwhelmed by these pressures. Whereas now I turn my watch on and I don't look at it.
Just run.
I look at the time and I just go. And I just run and I just sit in the moment and feel how my body, okay, I can go a little bit faster. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna slow down. Like, and I get it if you're an athlete, to the top end and you need to
That's
hit
different.
goal. I get
Exactly.
it.
Yeah.
But a general person, you just don't need to put that pressure on yourself. And it's the same with, like, my mum, for example, has been obsessed. I want to weigh under 12 stone. And I said to her, like, why? Oh, well, because, well, I don't really know why. What I want.
It's just some, she's given herself a number, and that's
Literally.
her
And I'm like,
number,
what
but
does
nobody
it,
can explain what it is.
what does it do? What does it bring to life? And I said to her, I'll get you under 12 stone, but I tell you what, you will not be any happier than you are now.
Yeah.
So we did it. And she was like, yeah, I don't feel any different. And I'm like, yeah, because it doesn't matter, because you're not working towards, we've had to cut your calories. We've had to do this, that to get you to that weight. That's not like, you wanted to do it, we've done it. Like, now what? Now you're going to go back up, because I'm going to put you on more so that you're fueling your training and you're going to feel good.
That's good that you help your mum out there. That's
yeah.
awesome.
Oh, she's been getting free training for years. Yeah.
No, I help people out in my family all the time, but I always say to them, like I said, there's only so much I can help you. I do have other things I need to do, but like I think the template of anything to do with the principles of fitness is always, it's just implementing changes into your lifestyle. So I love Dr. Pepper. Dr. Pepper is my favorite drink, but it's with amaretto. I love it. It's best. Now, I have that drink, I'm not even exaggerating, probably once every 3 to 4 months. And everyone's like, that's a big space, because I'm not really a big drinker. But when I know fizzy drinks just don't work for my body. So I gave them up. But if it's an occasion, I'll have it.
Yeah.
Because I know it's not going to do me any damage. And I think I finally got to a place in my life where before, when I was doing the fad diet and cutting things out and not having them, I was cutting them out in the process of trying to get to my end game and going, that's how I'm going to get there. Whereas now I'm like, okay, I'm there, but I'm not going to go back to where I was by just having something every so often. The problem is, if you start going, I'm there now, let me have one every day, that's when it's going to go wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely. I think that's the thing about when you change your why and you focus it more on adapting your lifestyle, it becomes sustainable. And I think people forget that everything, if you start doing something, and that's both ways, gaining weight, losing weight, whatever your goal, where you can't see yourself still doing that and feeling great in a year, that's not sustainable.
Exactly.
And if it's not sustainable, it's not going to give you long-term results. And I think people forget about that. And people want a quick fix, and I get it, and I wanted it too. I really, really did. But in the grand scheme of life, the things you can do to set yourself up forever in a year is worth it. So take your time.
Yeah.
And that's why I always say, like, people always ask me, and I know they want something more and I can't give it to them. And I'm just like, take your time.
But like you said, it's like you said, everybody, we're in a fast food society. Every day you pick up your phone, you see a fitness page, you see someone looking unbelievable, and you're like, but they're not realizing they're working out 3-4 times a day. That's literally their job. They've made it their job to look that certain way. They've put out an image out there, and that image is now put a pressure on themselves to look like that. And if you really knew, and we and you know what's going on in their head.
Oh yeah, massively. Even now, like post-comp, I feel, I mean, I'm posting photos, but like some days I'm like, I don't look how I looked on stage. But I'm like, do I post that?
That's not.
Do I post that?
It's not sustainable, though, is it?
100% not. And there is no way I could sit at that weight. Like, how? Like, no. And they don't see. And this is why I always wanted to be open and honest about it. Like, there were days towards like the 4 weeks out of comp, I would cry through my workouts. Like, I'd just be lifting or doing my fasted cardio, and I would be crying because I felt like rubbish. Like, I was putting in next to no fuel and burning twice as much, like on a daily basis, to get to that level of leanness. I haven't had a menstrual cycle in 4 months. Like,
I was going to ask you that, actually, because that's one thing I was telling a lot of women that asked me, I'm thinking of doing a comp. I said, I said there's a lot of positives to the mental aspect of getting through it and saying you've done it, but there's a lot of physical changes that are very, very disruptive.
100%. Yeah. Like, yeah. So, you know, that I haven't had one. That's that. So now we need to build me back up. Your hormone levels change. Like, and honestly, I was a horrible person some days. Horrible. I was so hungry. Like, it literally,
You were hangry you were
I was
hangry
hungry
all the time, all the time.
24/7. I would wake up in the night so hungry, like 3-4 times, in just so much pain from being hungry.
Oh, that
Like,
sounds awful. Like somebody said to me, like, Marv, you know, you look like you've got the shape. I was like, yeah, I know I have. I ain't doing it. I was like, just cutting out food that I love was
mm,
bad enough at one stage. I cannot imagine what I'd be like if I was doing the cutting. Like
yeah,
bulking would be great. Bulking
bulking would be fun. Yeah,
Bulking's fantastic. My friend's doing bulking at the moment, and we just have a laugh when I'm just looking at what he's eating. Because I said to him, mate, I would have put on 4 stone by now eating what you're eating. I'm not even
yeah,
exaggerating, but it just goes to show you the differences between how people's bodies, you know, there's people that I digress a bit, but you know, some people who find it really hard to build muscle, like,
yeah.
and put weight on, and they're the ectomorphs, they're really like, and
Mm.
I'm looking at them like I've only got to lift 20 kg for 2 days and I've gained more muscle than you have in 2 months. And you realize you think it's a gift, but I'm saying no, but also I will gain the fat on top of that. Whereas
Yeah,
you're not gaining the fat and you're trying to gain it. Whereas I'm like, no, this is effortless. It's just going to my stomach.
yeah, literally. I can look at carbs and I'll gain weight.
Yeah, it is. And people think that saying is a joke. I'm like, no, I know for a fact if I'm going to have something, there's going to be consequences. But that's why for me now, I've learned that I'm not trying to be in a competition. I'm not trying to be that person that's like, oh, I'm topless all the time. I've got to
Mm.
look like this. And I was like, because if you do start being that person, that's you.
Oh my God,
That
yeah.
is you. And I see it and I go, all right, I can go down that route. Right now, I could go down that route in my 40s. But I said, but that means once I show it, I'm putting myself under pressure. And I don't want to do that. And that's why I don't do it. Someone said to me, you know what, Marv, you're looking lean, because I've leaned out a lot since last year. Because I'm not any fitter than I am. I just changed a part of my body. I had a lot of stomach problems early last year and I
Yeah,
had to change a lot of my food. My gut health was terrible. So just some things I removed just started cutting me, but I haven't removed my calories, just the type of foods, dairy
yeah,
and things like that. So I cut quite a lot. But what it was, I said to someone, I can do that picture. People might be like, yeah, that's great. But then I'd realize that no, it puts me in a category and it puts me somewhere where I'll be honest with you, I'm not necessarily comfortable that I can stay there.
yeah.
I don't know if it's just, I don't think it's sustainable. I don't. And that's what you've just said about the prep. I see someone prepping and I'm like, you look fantastic today, but I know you're having Domino's pizza straight after that cutting. I know that.
Yeah, 100%. Like, that's why, but it's, I would happily say, now I've done it, I will take food over abs any day.
I love that's a podcast. Wait, that's a podcast in itself. We should start a podcast. Food over abs. That's a brilliant name.
Literally.
Food over
Like,
abs.
and some people are like, my friend who I did it with, she's naturally like lean.
Lean.
She's always had ab definition. Like, she had crazy, like, literally when she stepped on stage, it was insane. Like,
Yeah.
she literally, like, the definition. But even before we started prep, you could see her abs, like, you could see them. Some people have that, some people don't.
got that, yeah.
But, you know, I've always had like a leaner lower half, like, and shoulder, like my shoulders and my lower half are I've always had a lot of muscle there,
Yeah.
whereas I've carried a lot of my weight around my middle. Like, I've always had that. That's just the way that my body's built, and I'm not gonna have, and the sacrifices I would have to have a washboard stomach, like, I just
Forever.
not worth it.
Forever. The pictures will look great. The pictures on the gram will look great, but I tell you, it's not, but when you're going to bed at night, like you said, it ain't great.
No, it's not. Like, and you know, I don't want to restrict myself from enjoying my life just for the sake of someone to say, oh, look at her abs. Like, I just don't. Like,
Nah.
I'd rather someone be impressed at the fact that I'm throwing my body weight above my head on a barbell, but I don't have abs. Like, that's more impressive to me. Like,
No,
you know
I
what I mean?
understand. But you know, that was another big reason why I had to talk to you, because I felt, just looking through your gram and one of the pictures that Emma posted, and I was just like, you know, I don't follow a lot of trainers, I don't follow a lot of people in that regards in fitness, because I always
Mm.
see stuff that just I think is really bad preachy, and I feel like it's a bad message to what I think the core audience of people in fitness need to know. But with yourself, all I saw was realness, and I was like, I need to talk to her, because I can hear that we're gonna have a very similar, and we've got very
Yeah, we
similar, we're
have.
very, very similar. And I wanted to know, how do you feel? Because I feel I've got a daughter who's 8. I
Yeah.
feel like there's such an extreme pressure on females right now, to the point of where I get upset as a father. This is something separate to fitness. Like, I'm like, what is my daughter? When she gets on social media, how am I going to convince her every other woman, all these other girls online are trying to aspire to look like something that doesn't exist?
Yeah.
Like, how do you feel about that?
I have. So I think it's the biggest thing I always say, and this is anything, is if you're training as well, comes down to, so training wise, I always say to people, you don't have to enjoy what someone else enjoys. Like, do what makes you happy, move your body how, makes you happy. If you want to go do Zumba and dance, then go dance your ass off. Like, if you want to pick up a heavy barbell and be strong as you can, go do that. Like, just move and do what makes you happy. And that's what I've always preached. I will always push that. And I think it's about fulfilling yourself and, moving in a way that makes you happy. I'm always driven, and especially through the depths of prep when I was training and pushing myself. I come from a massive female family. Honestly, like, they call us a coven. There's so many of us. Like, and I have 2 younger nieces who are like 7 and 5, 8 and 5, or she'll kill me for saying she's 7, 8 and 5. And I do think when I'm talking about my body or the movement I do, or expressing yourself and being comfortable in your skin, I always do think, like, what is the world that I want them to see, like, when they grow up. Yeah. And I do want to see diversity. I want them to understand that one size doesn't fit all, and that's fine. You can be you, and that's okay. There are so many girls that reach out and say, it was actually, this is really good to talk about this. It's really hard because when I started, obviously I was a lot bigger, and there was a point where I started prep, and I felt a lot of pressure to, when I started to get smaller, that I'd let people down.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Yep.
A lot of women followed me because I was curvier and
confident.
And
you were the CC, curvy and confident.
Yeah. And I did feel like, I never wanted to be that person that was chasing an aesthetic. Like, I'm not trying to be skinny, and I said this over and over and over again to people, and I think that's why a lot of people who joined me a year ago are still with me, like, because they've seen the journey I've gone on, and they understand that I haven't done this. I didn't step on stage so that I would be super, super skinny. I stepped on stage because I wanted to prove that no matter who you are, if you want something, go work it. Like, don't let anyone tell you can't do anything, because you can. Every single one of us, if you want to step on stage, you can do it.
100%.
And that's what I want. And I think that's why I always talk about that, and that's what I want for young women as well, is to see those journeys. And I share a lot of I used to do Sunday stories, and I would share a lot of other women's stories and stuff like that. As we got into prep, like, even my own content was hard to create, but so I always think, whenever I post something or talk about something, I always think, who did I need back then when I was 16? Who did I see? And I always think about my nieces and what I want them to see when they grow up. And there is obviously lots of influencers, and you appreciate, like, they look great, but there are a lot who are, and I think learning that you curate your own feed. And this is the biggest thing that I say to people as well.
Very clever. Yeah.
Curate your own feed, because there might be an algorithm there, but you create that by who you follow, who you interact with,
Who you like. Yeah.
Someone, if I don't if following me makes you feel shit, unfollow me, because that's not why I'm here, and I don't want to make you feel bad about yourself. So unfollow me and go find someone that doesn't. And I think that's what I will always teach, and I'll teach my nieces that, is that you are in control of what you see. You're in control of who you talk to, who you interact with, and fill your feeds and fill your life with those people that lift you up. Like
100%.
And that rings true, like especially through prep and stuff like that. Like people I never spoke to came when, as soon as I got thin, wanted to speak to me.
Yeah, and I know for a fact, because of that reason, you're always going to be standoffish with those people.
Yeah, where were you a year ago? Like,
yeah, I'm like that with everything, with my career, what I do. I'm like, there's people that I've emailed and actually sent emails to over the years, had a conversation with them, and for some reason, years later now, they'll see me on television or doing something, and all of a sudden they contact me like it's for the first time. And I'm like, we've got a thread of conversations here. Like, I'm like, nah. I'm all about. I like supporting from the ground up, not from the up
100%.
down.
Yeah,
and I think a lot of people are like culture vultures on that one. I'm like, no. But I love what you said about create your own feed, though, because you're absolutely right. There are people that people should unfollow, and like you said, the reason why it does, the algorithm, like you does push the people that are like the people that you follow. So if you don't follow those people, then more than likely you're not going to be in a bad space, because it's like the whole Love Island thing when they were talking about people saying they're unrealistic, they look like this. And I was like, well, you don't have to watch it. You don't have to follow it. Just because people are advertising it doesn't mean say you have to buy it. It's what makes you feel good and what you enjoy. If you like car crash television, like you can watch it, but you have to see it for what it is. Like,
yeah, I think there's a lot of education that needs to happen. And hopefully, like, the more, I don't want to say people like myself, but like there is a lot of people that I follow who are very open and talk about stuff like this. And I think there is other people that you can see, some influencers who started out like that, and now they've gone off and lived their life, and they don't look like that anymore. Like, and you can see it. Like, you just have to go through the feeds and you'll see it. And that's the reality of it. You never know. And I always do check-ins, like, and I'll always say, remember, like, this is your daily reminder that you see a snapshot of someone's day. Like, you don't, I was open about my post. It took me a while to want to talk about it, but I did a post because I came off stage at 67, like just 0.9 kilos, and in 4 days I was 11 kilos heavier.
I saw that post, and I was like, wow, I cannot wait to talk to you, because I just thought you never hear anyone talk about that side of competition. And I was like, can someone I've been a personal trainer for years now, and I know how to prep someone. I've never done it for someone before, but I know what to do. And I don't 100% agree with, I agree competitions are cool, but I wouldn't agree with someone to do that to get fit. Because unfortunately, that's what people are doing. They're trying to look like that without going to a competition, but they work in an office.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, you work in an office, why do you want to look like a prep competition? Like, this makes no sense. And then all of a sudden it turns into this actual fantasy and this unachievable goal, where you're now putting yourself in the space of doing something what you don't get paid for. You're putting yourself in trauma and you don't get paid for it. Are you being serious? I'm like, why would you do this to yourself?
Yeah, I think people don't realize as well, whenever you change something nutritional wise or even exercise, you are putting stress on your body.
Yeah, so all your muscles, stress, everything.
And that's stress on your muscle, on your central nervous system, like everything. So that is why you don't hit the depths of prep until you're so close to the show, because it messes you up, like from a hormonal level. Like, your body is so sensitive. Like, the smallest bit of salt or like seasoning can literally
send you over the edge.
It, like, that's how sensitive you are. So you can't do it as a lifestyle. No, like, it's ridiculous. And that is why even professional cycle, like, they have off and on seasons, because it is not healthy.
Yeah, you can't do it all the time. Your body can't stay that weight. It's not supposed to, and you're not gonna have that low body fat percentage for that long. It's just not gonna happen. But like, honestly, Amy, like, I could talk to you for decades over everything. I'm sure hopefully in person we can meet. But before we go, what I want to know, and I ask all my guests this, if there's one workout song you could listen to only when you're working out, what workout song would it be?
One workout song.
What gets you pumped? Like, what was the first thing that came to mind when you went, I'm working out, this is the song I'm listening to?
It would have to be Bangarang by Skrillex.
I like it. That was a good one. That was a good one.
That one gets me pumped. Yeah. And you can do anything on a spin bike with that as well as with weights. So yeah.
No, exactly. And also as well, just let us know where we can find you. I want people to follow you and look at your journey and have a great influence, because that's what you are. You're a real influence.
So you can find me on Instagram at Dreams and Dumbbells. I'm normally on there. I try and get back to everyone who messages me and DMs me. I literally spend so much time on there, so I'm always there for a chat, chinwag, even just a general like bit of advice. Ask me anything. I'm always open and honest about everything. So yeah.
Oh, thank you so much, Amy, for coming onto my show. This has been 5 Minutes with Marv, long edition with my champion, Amy, and we should see her soon. I've put a link in the description so you guys can find her on Instagram as well. Follow her journey, because I can tell you this now, this journey has just begun. Thank you.
Thank you.